Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Skinny Confidential, him and her show. Sadly, today, Lauryn is no longer with us. She's no longer here. She's not dead, if that's what you're wondering. She's still alive, very much so, which is great. But she's not on the episode. She's on maternity leave. So it's just me. And to fill the time, I've also brought in Mimi, who's
Hi.
regular. I don't know if you're a regular, but you've been on here a few times. And then
he's pulling out the wild card.
Okay, your mic's on. Good. I don't have to go through this whole thing.
I'm like the old maid. Isn't that the wild card? No, that's the Joker's wild.
You can be the old maid if you want to be.
I don't know what you are, but anyways, everybody, got our producer Taylor on the show. We got Mimi on the show. Lauryn is, like I said, she's no longer with us, at least for today. And I don't know where this episode's going to go. I feel like, Mimi, you need a lot of help.
I wouldn't say that.
You need a lot of help.
If it's between Taylor and I think he needs more help than I do.
I'm really good at giving help. I'm surprisingly really good at giving help. Any person that I've ever given help to has always said, "You're a really good person to give advice." And I'm like, I know. Thank you.
I've never heard someone use the term given help in that way.
I've also never heard anyone say that about you, ever.
Ask around. It exists.
Taylor's pretty reliable. I'll give him that.
He's reliable. He's reliable. Maybe not my first choice for advice, but he's there. Okay, so like I said, Mimi needs a lot of help. She comes to me when her life's falling apart. And so I think...
Once a week.
Yeah, about once a week. So I said, okay, let's just put it all on air. Let's talk about what you're going through. And I think this episode is important for everybody that's, young person out there. Not that I'm so old, but young person out there, single in the dating world. I've learned a couple things along the way. I feel like I could be helpful in some ways. I'm helpful to you.
Yeah, you give me great advice.
Not always great advice, but I would say better advice than Lauryn.
Way better.
Especially with dating.
Lauryn gives some of the worst dating advice I've ever received.
Let's put it out there. I think she gives really good life advice.
In relationship
advice, yeah. But dating advice, she has been out of the game for so long.
Too long.
Yeah, she doesn't get it.
No.
And,
yeah, I 100% echo that sentiment.
Well, Lauryn was also very monogamous in every relationship, right? I was out there in the world for a while.
We know.
But it's still obviously it's been a long time. But Lauryn, again, some of the poorest dating advice I've ever heard. Sometimes I hear her talk to you in Weston and I'm like, oh, ugh.
Sometimes I call Lauryn for advice and I hear what she says. I'm like, okay, I should do the opposite of that.
Yeah, she's probably going to get all
She's
bitter
the
about
equivalent of the old grandpa that goes, back in my day, I used to walk through the snow with no shoes on. That's her dating advice.
You're right.
It was really good.
When you were in sixth grade.
15 years ago, that was the prime dating advice that she could win, I'm sure, some sort of award as in thank you, could save relationships. But now it's dated.
Where I think she's really solid is once you've got someone on the hook, someone that's interested in you, she's good at that part where they're kind of pursuing. She knows how to play it.
I agree.
And once they're in the relationship, she knows exactly the best advice for a relationship. But I don't think she's the best for dating.
No.
Now she's going to listen to this and yell at me offline.
She's going to yell at you either way.
No, she's acknowledged it before. I know she has.
No, she hasn't.
No.
She never acknowledges it.
Oh, she hasn't? No. Maybe you're right then.
I might put my headphones on because I feel weird. I thought I was going to get away with not putting my headphones on. But.
The other thing that Lauryn does with the dating is I'll call her, the other morning I called her and we were talking and this was literally 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning. And I called her and I told her about my night. And then I talked to Weston at 8 o'clock in the morning and he had already found out everything that I told Lauryn. So the second I tell her something, she immediately calls Weston and they talk about it.
Well, especially when she was pregnant and she's, bored and not drinking and just wanting all the tea and all the juice.
She wants the juice. All she does is just text me a juice box every day and she expects something.
Everybody listening should get a lot more excited because I just put my headphones on and I could already tell I'm going to be 10 times better than before. I thought I could wing it without the headphones, but I'm just so used to being in the zone. This is going to be a much better podcast now. Okay. It was honestly going to kind of maybe be trash before. Anyways, I'm in it now. Okay. So I thought it would be interesting for you because we were at dinner and you shared one of the funnier things I've heard ever, I think.
I agree. Yeah.
And I've only heard a little bit of it. And it is, from what I've heard, it's so absurd that it never would have existed when I was younger.
So, okay. So tell us what happened here.
Wait, are you guys talking about the anti-seducer, that guy?
I'm talking about, is that the red flags?
Yeah.
List? Okay. So tell me if I'm making a mistake here because I want to paint this picture for everybody. You go out alone.
Yeah.
Which I think is a power move, by the way. People should go out alone more often, right?
Yeah, that's my move.
Yeah, that is. It's
I'm
a great
reading my
move.
book. I'm eating sushi. It's a beautiful day.
Whenever I see somebody man, woman, whatever, out alone doing their own thing, I think, wow, that's like a powerful person. And I think we're attracted to that type of energy right away because it's like, oh, that person's confident. That person can do their own thing. They're not like having to leech onto the group.
Oh, I thought you meant like out at the bars alone.
I do mean
that's
that.
Ballsy.
I do mean that.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean you have to like be like partying your face off alone.
Yeah.
That's kind of strange.
I think
Yeah,
11
that's what I
o'clock
was
on
thinking.
Saturday by yourself would be a lot.
But I mean like going for like a bite for happy hour or like
Yeah.
getting a, parking up somewhere, grabbing a book, doing whatever you're
Bottle
working.
service for one.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're trying to meet someone, it's definitely a good move because that is where I met this guy.
It's approachable, right? Because it's always
Mhm.
strange when there's a big group and you have to like penetrate the group. That sounds weird, huh? Maybe not the best use of words, but you know what I mean? Like it's intimidating, guy or girl, to approach a giant group and then potentially get rejected in front of the group. But if you go up and there's someone solo, it's much more
Mimi's
approachable.
trying to penetrate a group of men.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe you are, Taylor.
I think a group of men are trying to penetrate him.
Remember, no, I've said that.
Maybe
I've
he's
never
been
really
penetrated
never
by a
really
group
been
of
hit-
men.
No, I've never really been hit on. We've talked about this before. For some reason, I don't know why. Men don't find me sexually attractive, I guess.
Okay. Let's get back to the point here.
Let's not get off topic here.
Didn't we ask Scotty if he would date you and he said like,
Are
never
your
in my
fucking
life?
computer keys in Korean?
Yeah, my computer's in Korean.
Okay.
I'm learning Korean. I'm pretty good at it now.
All right. I'm gonna,
Sidetrack.
okay. I'm gonna get flustered here. Okay, let's stay on the point.
Okay.
Okay, so you go out alone one night. You're out, and what was the reason? Were you actually going out on the hunt, or were you just
No,
okay?
I had just gotten home and I was hungry and I had no food and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go walk and get sushi. And it was like a nice night. And so I went and I brought my book and I'm sitting on the sidewalk having a beer, eating. Or actually, no, I'd already finished my sushi and I was eating a green tea ice cream with like a tempura on the side. Like I was fucking like having a night for myself. And this guy walks up and he's like, hey, actually first maybe I'll set the scene of his outfit. He walks up, he's wearing a black, shiny Supreme puffer. Bad sign, I should have known right then.
God.
And a black hat and like a black turtleneck and black jeans. And I was like, okay, whatever, like seems low key.
Did Supreme get so popular and so cool with your age group that it became now not cool?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
Actually,
I
I have a
think-
question about it. Is
Uh-huh.
Supreme? I've seen the brand, but to me it seemed more of like a streetwear. It's somewhat now transcended into like popular fashion, correct? It's like trendy now and like celebrities and stuff wear it. But when it first,
Isn't streetwear always like what celebrities are wearing?
I guess you could say that. But Supreme to me seemed it was like
I'm
like
cutting
a
this out.
subculture.
I don't know what
Okay.
you're saying here. Okay, back to you. So you go out.
Yeah.
Okay, and this guy approaches you.
Yeah, this guy approaches me and
So is that points in your book, or is that, or do you like that or not like that?
I like that. I was okay with being approached. I was wearing sweatpants and no makeup. So it wasn't like I was like really trying, but that was fine. And he asked me a question. He's like, hey, do you know if this place over here is open? And I knew that the place wasn't open. And so we like started talking about it or whatever. And we talked for like 30 minutes probably on the street. And he seemed totally normal. Although he did tell me some stories. Now that I'm looking back, I'm like,
Are you sitting down?
Yeah, I'm
You're
sitting
not
down.
standing on the sidewalk.
No, I'm
Okay.
sitting down. He's standing. And
You didn't sit down the whole 30
I had another chair. I didn't invite him to sit down. I wasn't open to that.
Oh, that's more. I would stand for maybe 3 minutes, then I'd have to.
You
I'd
would
either-
say, can I sit down?
I'd either sit down. I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'd either sit down or I'd
Mhm.
leave. I don't think I'd say can. I think that's a weak move because then it's
Oh,
like
okay.
then it puts the. This is my personal take. If you ask permission for stuff like that, just can I sit down? You open up the room for a rejection. So I think
Mm.
for dating advice, maybe for men and women, there's a better way to frame that.
So what would
You
you,
could just
do?
say I'm going to sit down.
What's the saying?
Okay.
It's better to ask.
And then
for,
if somebody says no, I don't want, like then you obviously you can't be a creep and go for it. But I don't like the ideas like can I? It's like asking permission.
I think
to
there's a
sit
saying
down.
it's better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission.
But again, like you don't like, if
Is
we're
that
talking,
what you do, Taylor?
No, it's a saying I've heard.
if we're talking about something as simple as sitting down, I
Yeah.
think that's okay to just say like I'm going to sit down and be assertive. If it's something where it's like you're touching somebody or physically approaching them, then you definitely need permission.
Well, yeah,
right?
because she could say
Okay.
no right away. when you say, "Could I sit down?" She says no, then it's awkward.
for
if
something-
you still pursue.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
something as simple as sitting down, I think that's okay to be assertive because then she could say, hey, you got to leave or get up or no, go away. You can't be so assertive if you're going to physically be touching somebody. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay.
How would that work if it was like reverse? I wouldn't just sit down. Someone would have to invite me to sit down.
Well, what I'm saying, like, of course, like I also think there's an energy where people give out. Like, you could tell if somebody doesn't want you to sit down.
I didn't want him to sit down.
But then what are you doing talking to him for 30 minutes? This is where I get very confused.
I was just relaxing. I was like, okay, sure.
But if somebody's talking to me for 30 minutes, I'm taking that as an indication that they're probably interested, because who the hell's talking to somebody for 30 minutes if they're not interested?
I like to be around colorful people, and he seemed a little bit colorful, so I was enjoying his stories, you know?
This is where you're very confusing, but you just wanted him to stand there?
Yeah, I wanted him to entertain me. It was like dinner and a show.
Don't you feel strange when you're sitting and he's standing and you're looking up?
No.
She's asserting her dominance.
Yeah.
All right. Well, surprised this didn't work out, but keep going. Okay,
I know, it's shocking. Regardless, like the 30 minutes is up. My ice cream is melted. He asks for my number. And I'm like, okay, sure. And I give him, or actually he asked me if I would go out with him that night, and I said no. And then I gave him my number, and he texted me, and he's like, it was so nice to meet you. And I responded like 2 hours later. I'm like, yeah, nice to meet you too. And then the next day he texts me, and he's like, when are you free? Let's get dinner. And I told my roommate, I was like, oh my God, like he texted me, like, I'm going to get dinner with this guy. I was like kind of excited about it. And then like an hour and a half goes by, and he texts me, he's like, guess we're not a match then, like have a nice life.
Wow.
I know.
Everything up to that point, I was thinking, okay, this seems pretty normal.
Same. I thought the same thing. And then I was like, well, that's fucking weird. And so I didn't respond to that, of course.
Can you can you tell me like age range? Not to be ageist,
yeah,
but like,
yeah.
How old do you think this guy was?
Like 35, maybe.
Okay.
35, yeah.
So a little bit too young. I mean, listen, sorry, I'm going to be ageist again. Some of these old bats, they get freaked out if you don't text right back. But if you're 35, you should understand the game. Like, sometimes you don't get a text back right away.
Yeah, he might have been younger too.
I would text Lauryn sometimes when we first started dating, when we first started pursuing her. I wouldn't hear back for like 3 or 4 days. Maybe sometimes longer.
That's the advice that she still gives.
Yeah.
That is, you just literally nailed, her advice to you is exactly what she says. Like, don't respond for like a week. She's like, go on a vacation, come back like 2 weeks later. I'm like, they're gonna be like,
sometimes it works.
About
no,
it.
but you know what she would do? She would pepper me. She would sometimes like I would message her
hot and cold,
and she would go super hot and be like right back right away. I'm like, oh cool, she's into me. And then as it was getting going, then she would like ghost me for a while.
The pump and dump.
Yeah, that's actually like a thing that Robert Greene was talking about, where I forget like exactly what it was, but it was like there was this old stick with no branches, and they would put it into a salt mine in the winter, and then they would come out a few months later covered in crystals, and it's called crystallization. It's like you give them a little bit of something, and then like in their mind they think about you. Like when she wasn't texting you for those 4 days, you were probably like thinking about like, oh, what's she doing? What's she up to? Yeah,
I think blanketly, like it just is like more like relationship or dating advice. People give way too much, way too consistently.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's like we don't. If you first start dating somebody and they know everything about you in your first 2 weeks because you've just verbally diarrheaed all over their face with everything that you have to share, then there's nothing interesting about you anymore.
See, for me, I can verbally diarrhea all over everyone's face and they will know nothing about me.
Yeah, I guess that's a little bit true.
In a way, because I can talk for hours about nothing. And they'll be like,
yeah,
this guy's still a mystery.
I think you make people think that they know you, but then they're like, there's something going on like behind the scenes.
Well, most people don't know me.
Well, the biggest thing is people leave no mystery.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like it's like I got to let you know everything about me, everything in my world, how my family is, what I think, what my values. Like it's just like hold some shit back a little bit.
For sure.
Right? Like okay.
Let someone imagine things about you.
Yeah, and let someone miss you.
Uh-huh.
Let someone think. That's a mistake people make early on in dating is they go way too hard, way too fast. Like
I think you need to get him on the hook a little bit though before you do that space.
Yeah.
Because Lauryn's suggestion, she's like, oh, like text him once and then don't talk to him for 2 weeks. I'm like, he's gonna forget who I am.
Well, I think it's tough. What Lauryn does, it's tougher now because guys have way more options than they ever did before.
Yeah.
And like people find that like it's tough to hear, but it's true, right? A guy may not wait 2 weeks any longer or even a week because he's on this app that he can swipe and he can find a girl much easier, or guy, whatever it is, than in the past. Like when we were younger and we would date, I would actually have to pursue somebody. And if you found somebody, you would have to you'd have to follow up consistently because it's not like you had 85 options.
Yeah.
Right at your fingertips on your phone.
If you had those options, would you have gone a different way?
Of course. Of course. Yeah. I mean, and listen, I had options, but it wasn't like, I mean, I didn't grow up in a generation where I could get
Let's
on my
be real,
phone.
your options were not great.
Well, let's not throw all these people under the bus. There was some good options back. Don't make it about me. But what I'm saying is,
Can I see a picture of some of the options?
No, we don't do that. But I didn't have this thing where you could get on your phone instantly and be like, okay, I got denied by one person today, so I'm going to go and try 50 others, right? It's like, oh, you got denied by one. Like maybe you'd have 2 to 5 backups if you were really kind of out there.
Yeah.
But you didn't have 100. 50.
I met this guy recently. We were at a party and we were talking about dating apps, and he says that he goes on 12 dates a month. He says sometimes he stacks them up and he'll have 2 dates in one night.
I had a friend, and I'm not going to say who it is. I
know
who he is. He had a circuit. And I know, and he's not the only one of my friends with this. Like, he had a circuit.
2 of your friends have circuits that I can think of.
Maybe more now, but this one guy I'm talking about, he's a fucking animal. And he had a circuit of 3 places, all within walking distance of his place. And first it was a wine bar, then it was a restaurant, and then it was a bar, and then it was back to the place. And he did the circuit probably 3 to 4 times a week with 3 to 4 different women every week, to the point where some of the people working in these establishments like would just call him out. And some people liked it, and some were like, hey man, you're disgusting, because he would just do this circuit over and over. But again,
if I went out with a guy and they called him out like that, I would think it was funny.
Well, this is what I think what makes dating more challenging now is people have more options than ever, right? And I think this makes it hard for people to stay focused. In a relationship, it's like you got to stay focused, right? You got to be like, okay, I got to blinders on and focus on one person, ideally.
Why does something relating to bear fucker shots pop in my head during that story?
Okay, I told you we're not going to put the guy on blast, but he's going to hear that and be like, okay, so anyways, but yes, I think he would end the night with the drink called a bear fucker shot. Again, that has nothing to do with me, but it's
Didn't you serve those at like the company Christmas?
No. No, that'd be a huge HR violation. But again, okay, so back to this guy. So he
texted me and he said, guess not, whatever. And I wrote him off. I was like, okay,
bye. How long did it transpire from his message? So he sent the message, you didn't respond.
Yeah,
an hour.
1 hour. Maybe 1 hour, 15 minutes.
Were you intentionally waiting the hour? Were you letting him sweat? Or was it just, were you busy?
Well, I take like a long time to respond in general.
She was doing what she should be doing. She's not being too thirsty. She was like, hey, I'm going to we kind of like this guy, right? We're going to maybe go out, and you're not going to be all desperate sending the text message right back.
For sure.
That's the right move, by the way. You have to go. Some people disagree that, no, you got to be responding. You got to be respectful. No, you can play the game a little bit.
It was Thursday at like 7 p.m. too, and I was out to dinner. Like, yeah, I'm busy.
Nothing worse than finding someone and then them feeling like they're not busy, like they don't have their own life going on.
Yeah, it's so unattractive. So I wrote him off. I was like, okay, whatever. He's obviously weird. And then he texted me like 2 or 3 days later, and he's like, hey, by the way, I just want to know why you didn't respond the other day.
Wait, I thought you said you responded in an hour.
No, I never responded after he did that. I had never responded, and then he responded again. You
didn't respond after an hour. He sends an absurd message, mad about not responding an hour, and you're like, okay, this guy's a red flag weirdo. I'm not going to respond at all now.
Yes.
Okay.
Totally.
Got it.
And also he had given me like his whole life story in that text. He's like, hey, I'm at the airport. Flight got delayed. Time to kill. I don't care that you ghosted me. Not a big deal. I'm just curious. Haha. Though, were you too shy? And then he just goes on. It's like a very long text. And then he goes, I just wanted to know.
I think you should read the full text.
You think I should?
Context.
Yeah.
Okay. He goes, hey, dude, I'm at the airport.
He called you dude?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, the one, he goes, what night are you around? At 6:26. And then I hadn't responded. Oh, I guess it was 2 hours. And then at 8:46, he goes, maybe let's not force it. Fun chatting with you. See you around. And I was like, that's so fucking weird.
After 1 hour?
Yes. It's 2 hours, but whatever.
But still, okay.
Yeah. It's a Thursday. I'm out. And then on Monday, he texts me. He goes, hey, dude, I'm at the airport. Flight got delayed. Time to kill. I don't care that you ghosted me. Not a big deal. I am curious, though. Haha. Were you too shy to give me a fake number or say no thanks? Or was it something else? I didn't pick up at you wanting to be left alone. Or did the heart freak you out? Because I was just driving and didn't have time to write things out. I've been insanely busy with work. Women's language is so fascinating. Always down to learn it better. Totally thought you really wanted to hang. Because he had liked one of my messages from before when I said, it's nice to meet you or whatever.
Oh, he did the heart like.
Yeah. So he was feeling insecure about the heart like.
I think you should only use those things with very familiar settings. Like sometimes my family bothers me with the family group text and they send 18 things. So I'll send a something back in that. Or if I'm communicating with somebody like I'm working with or whatever, I'll do like the thumbs up or thumbs down. Like I think that's fine. But I think if you're just getting to meet someone and you hit them with one of those emojis, not even emojis, like the little
The
like
tap backs.
the tap backs.
I don't care about that. It doesn't bother me. I don't think about it.
But don't you think that it should bother you a little bit? Like somebody just like, it's almost like, I think this is what I think about a lot with people dating nowadays. It's like people have so little time and care so little about the interaction they're having with someone that they don't even have 3 seconds to write something back or voice memo something back. Like to me, if I was pursuing a woman and they hit me with one of those tap backs, I would be like, okay, well, this person's not interested and they don't have the time and like I'm not going to pursue.
It's relationships built on microtransactions.
Sometimes when I use it, it's like when they ask 2 things and I only want to respond to one of them, and so I'll just like the other one kind of.
But you give another in-depth response.
I give an answer to one of the questions.
Okay, well, that's different.
Yeah.
But
That's
you
how
just
I use
don't
it.
just hit him with the tap back.
No,
Because what are you supposed to pick up from that?
for sure. No, I respond. And then I go, have a safe flight. I did want to hang out, but then I didn't respond for like an hour and you were upset. It was too intense. Sometimes I take days to respond.
Still, good response. Good response.
He goes, I wasn't upset at all. I just have a long list of deal breakers. And days to respond is at the top. If you're bored and feel like reading, here you go. Okay, glad I wasn't an asshole. And I didn't let you eat your ice cream. Take care, hun. Thanks for clarifying.
Oh my God. Well, you said hun?
Yeah.
Okay. Hun and dude, very kind of demeaning.
I'm going to be real. There is a photo of him on this website. If I show it to you, go like.
I want to see the photo. We won't put the guy's website on blast because I feel like that's too much. Also, I don't want to fucking hear from some lawyer.
Actually, maybe I should show you the photo later because
No, I got to see the photo.
You want to see it right now?
Wait, Taylor, what do you think? Should I see the photo first or should I hear the list first? No, give me the list first.
Yeah,
because
I
I want
give the list first.
Because I want to picture this guy in my head.
Because then you'll get your depiction of him, and then you get to see what he looks like.
Okay, so
we'll post this list on Instagram if anyone is bored and wants to take a gander.
So this is the moment in the story, Taylor. I don't know if I told you this. This
is
for
the
everyone
peak.
listening. This is the moment in the story when we're at dinner that this took a wild turn, and I was like, we got to talk about this on the show because this was.
I was on my way to dinner when he texted this to me, and so it was like I was so excited to see you guys and tell you about it.
Because at first I thought the guy was a creep, and then I heard about this website, and I'm like, well, this. Then I can't.
This is a whole new layer.
It's a whole new layer, and I can't tell if I really think it's great or if I even think it's creepier.
Same. I kind of love it almost. Like it definitely got my attention. I'm never going to go out with him, obviously, but it did get my attention.
Someone out there, it's worked for someone or he wouldn't be giving it out. And that's why I want to talk about more of this once you're done with it. But I have a very strong opinion on what the success of this.
You do.
I was thinking about all the different things and people we've talked about on the podcast and like the fact that this is making it on air, like this, because I think that this deserves a spot in this podcast history because what this guy did.
It's impressive.
That's what I'm saying. I can't tell if it's impressive, if it's psychotic, if it's funny, if it's just complete nutso, if it's real.
It's real.
But I know the thing is real. So, okay. So tell him what he did.
So it's a fully built out website. Like a beautifully designed website. He obviously hired a developer.
With his name.com.
Yes.
Like it's his personal name.com.
Yes. He has like some of his business stuff on here, which is not impressive to say the least. But on here is this list of deal breakers. And at the top it says the ones marked with a star are the hard ones. The ones marked with a dash are the soft ones.
Which is so wild that this guy. So what I started thinking, I was like, okay, this guy has been out in the dating world for so long that he couldn't just, like if I had a list that I wanted to send to somebody, I could send that list in like a notes app.
Absolutely.
Or I could copy and paste it. The fact that he had to create a domain for people to go and visit.
With asterisks.
That's wild.
It's so insane.
Like I said, I can't tell if this is like a total power move or if this is just total fucking creep zone.
It's total fucking creep zone for sure.
I don't know. I'm gonna let the listeners decide. You gotta, because some of these are pretty fucking funny.
Okay, number 1, dry texter. Like, yeah, I guess.
And these are his red flag lists.
Yeah.
These are his deal breakers when he's dating what he does not want in a partner.
Yes.
Okay, let's go.
Dry texter. Too shy. Any of these. Low self-esteem. Depressed. Emotionally abusive.
This guy can't deal with anybody bringing any kind of baggage.
Tries to put down or emasculate men to feel good about herself.
A little misogynistic, okay.
Yeah. Blames the patriarchy for all her problems.
Very misogynistic. Okay.
Okay, number 3. Tries to compete with you instead of the us against the world mentality. Can't tell the difference between kindness and weakness.
What?
That's the
Toxic
heart
girls see
message
kindness as
coming out.
weakness and attack. Needs lots of male attention. Consistently posts thirst traps. Uses dating apps.
Okay, so this guy's very misogynistic. This is a very
Yeah.
This maybe is a very insecure guy. Okay, keep going.
Chronic insomnia.
Well, that would kind of be a deal breaker for me too.
Any attempt at game/manipulation. Bad kisser / tries to use SEGGS to only please me, hoping I'd commit instead of actually enjoying her orgasms too and being in the moment.
Wait, what is
Very-
segs? What's segs?
Sex, man.
It's like how people spell it on TikTok because you
Oh
can't
my
spell out
God.
sex.
That's this.
It's
so this guy's
so
35
gross.
years old writing this that way?
Yes.
Wow.
That is literally gave me the ick more than anything. Dumb, unable to think outside the box, has nothing interesting to say.
Well, that's deal breakers for me too.
Obsessed with / addicted to social media. Not creative, has no style. This is absolutely the worst one. Doesn't make an effort to look or feel her best with all of these things listed after it. Pushes for commitment too soon, that doesn't belong there. Is overweight or unattractive.
Oh,
Is shorter
Jesus.
than 5 foot or taller than 6 foot. Is over 120 pounds.
What the fuck is
Doesn't have shiny, silky hair.
That is the fact that Taylor, the fact that this guy put doesn't have shiny silky hair on his red flags list is this is why I can't
Psychotic.
I can't tell if this is incredible or if this is just full creep. Like I can't tell if this guy's being serious.
Like I kind of want to be friends with him because I think it's really funny. Like I bet he's a colorful person, but I don't want to date him.
You bet he's a colorful person. He created a domain with this list that he sends out to people after he.
I'd love to pick his
fails.
brain.
I
I'm gonna
almost
be
feel like
real.
it's like a satire on dating.
Well, that's
because
what I'm
Yeah.
trying to
the
say. Like
whole
I
time
can't
I'm
tell
like,
if this is serious or not. I mean, maybe it's like he puts this out there and he can play the card of like, oh, just joking if it's not received well, but if it's, or maybe he
I mean, he still is hitting me up even after I've like been non-responsive. So I don't know.
So was that the full list?
No, there's a few
Okay,
more.
keep going.
I'll make
'Cause
it quick.
I think we need to go back and just dissect some of these because they're
Okay.
hilarious.
There's a few more that you're gonna like. Identifies as a dog mom. Tries to figure out how much money I have or any signs of gold digging. Parents not together.
Oh, Jesus.
That's something that no one has control over in any way.
Nope, it's a red flag for this guy.
Deal breaker, actually.
Big deal breaker.
Has kids, bad breath / smelly, no sense of humor, has slept with anyone I know, doesn't sleep with me by the third date at the latest, underlined,
Wow.
is a
He's
friend
really
first.
making a statement right there to make sure that the person sees that. They're like, oh shit, the next
So
one's
I
coming
guess
up.
at what state? I mean, I guess in your case, it was like this was a preemptive, like, hey, we didn't even get anywhere, but I just want to hit you with this list. But imagine, like,
Yeah.
I wonder if this list gets shared as he's in the dating process.
I wonder. Should I ask?
I'm gonna
Is that the full list?
No, this is how he ends it.
Okay.
I can't be her entire world. She has to find joy in things other than me, aka have her own life. And that's it.
Okay, so what you just asked Michael about, does he show? I think he does, and I guarantee you, this is the part that scares me, is that I guarantee you, and it might be a listener here, so there are girls that I'm sure see this and find it acceptable and or find it intriguing, and they look at it and they go okay, and they actually continues to go on a date with this type of person. That's what I find strange.
I'd like to
he's
interview that girl
definitely-
as well.
Exactly, because he has this and he wouldn't give it or share it to anybody. I'd be surprised if he's stupid enough to realizing that the success rate of this website was 0. I think these are like it's a Hail Mary. It's like a Hail Mary play.
I wonder if this is like an encrypted link and he sees every time I open it.
Oh,
'Cause I
he
open
probably
it
has. Hopefully, you
all
haven't
the
been watching
time.
like Pornhub or like whacking off to that. He's probably spying on you.
Maybe because every time I open it, he texts me.
No way.
I'm kidding. Not every time, but
That'd be wild.
yeah.
Okay.
He's like,
so-
"Hey, you look really good right now." You're like, "What?"
Oh my God.
Okay, so this one didn't work out.
No. I respond and I say, this is riveting. Thank you for sharing. And then he's texted me 3 more times since then. Most recently on Saturday, a 1-minute long voice note, which I don't care to listen to. I was thinking about responding, too long, didn't listen. Sorry that happened, or happy for
So
you.
what do you think? Okay, this one didn't work
Okay,
out. This
yeah.
is a full creep mode. But what do you think? Like why do you think? Because so many. I talked to a lot of people in your age range and some of my friends. people struggle to date now. Like it's I feel like it's in a lot of ways it's gotten easier and more accessible to meet people, but it's gotten harder and harder to actually get into a relationship or date successfully.
It's really hard to find people you like. And I think there's so many people out there that you're like desensitized also. Like maybe I've met someone who I would like if I would have met them in a different way. But on the dating app, I just look past them.
Well, who was I talking to? I was at the dinner and I was saying like, I feel bad for people because I feel like because there's so many, like a lot of, I'll like use a business analogy. A lot of reasons people don't find success in businesses because they lack focus, right? Like they kind of try something for a little bit and then it doesn't work out right away. And so like, oh, I have so many options now. I'm going to be a graphic designer. I'm going to go into finance. I'm going to go into TikTok. I'm going to go and, work for this person. Like there's so many options and so many different ways to make money now that people lack the ability to stay focused on one thing. And I feel like that's applicable now to the dating world where you meet someone and it kind of like fizzles quickly or doesn't go where you want it to right away. And so you jump to the next thing very fast where few years ago, you would maybe hang on a little bit longer because there wasn't such an abundance of options.
Yeah. I also think that it does have to do with like a lot of people in my demographic don't play the game and they're thinking that it's like manipulative and they need to, like, especially women. Like I see how my friends act with guys and I'm not perfect, but I definitely think that I'm like better off than a lot of other people.
But your demographic thinks that they're not playing the game, but they are actually playing a game when they're like, "Oh, we're not doing that." They think the game itself it's a hypothetical description of like the push and pull of relationships. So they think it's not like, obviously it's not a physical game, but they're like, "Oh, we don't play games." But yet then they go and do shit that it would fall right in the category of playing games.
Well, the difficulty about with all of this stuff is that I think, again, people start to try to break this down by age group or demographics. And I hear older people than us saying, oh, these generations, and younger people saying this generation. And I think it's a mistake because if you study human nature, or even if you look at someone like Robert Greene, who writes about the laws of human nature, human beings and their thought processes and their emotions and their triggers and the things that get them going and get them stimulated have not really changed so much over the years, right? Like
You're right.
People are people. And so you can push back on human nature and the way people think and say, I'm not playing that game, or I'm not doing this, or I'm opting out. But the problem is these strategies are kind of timeless, right? And so I think that, call it manipulative, call it what you want, but the way attraction works, the way people respond to things, the way people stay in relationships and the things that they pursue, like that hasn't, at least the fundamental laws of how humans actually behave with human nature, that hasn't changed so much. And I think that
you're right.
A lot of times people think, well, my generation doesn't do it this way, or that generation does it a different way. It's like, yeah, but there's still a lot of similarities in laws that you kind of have to abide by.
I think that is kind of like what I was trying to say. Like they think that a lot of people are now aware more so than I think 50 years ago. Like that game or that book, The Game, came out, 15 years ago. And that
Mystery?
No, it was called The Game, right?
Yeah, but wasn't it, Taylor, is that the guy Mystery that wrote that?
I'm not certain which one you're talking about.
I think it might have been.
Yeah.
It got so famous.
The guy that talked about negging and like peacocking.
Yes.
Oh, God. Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
But so then, since then, I think that there's been like people being like, oh, I know what you're trying to do. Like, you're trying to play a game. I think that that's kind of been the reaction.
It's also too many choices breed indecision. That's like the like tried and true the ability of it is when it's a constant pool that you could just keep looking for, you're going to be looking for something that doesn't even really necessarily exist.
But these games, these games exist in business. They exist in dating. They exist in relationships. They exist in friendships. And I always find those people that try to opt out of the game stupid. Right?
I agree.
Because like whether you like it or not,
you can't go against history.
Whether you like it or not, like this is the way the world exists. People read that book, The 48 Laws of Power, and they get mad. Like, this is dark. This is manipulative. It's like, no, it's a reflection on how human beings.
I think people who say that haven't read the book. I think that they just know about it.
Well, people live in a world where they're like, I don't want to acknowledge the way the world really is, or I refuse to acknowledge that it is that way. Maybe it's darker than I'd like it to be, or it's more manipulative than I'd like it to be, or people are maybe more self-serving than I hope they would be. And so they say, I'm not playing the game. And then what happens is they lose in life because the rest of the world's playing the game. Right?
Or a lot of those rules too are they're subconscious. They're not even aware of a lot of the things. So if they're like, I'm not going to do it, but they're still through their just behavior and just being human, they're still doing a lot of these things.
Well, there's a way to play the game and still be a good person, but you just have to acknowledge that there's a game being played.
Yeah. And it's not that you're being manipulative. It's that if you actually like want to date someone and want like a relationship that lasts, you have to keep it exciting and you have to like do those things. That's what Lauryn would say.
Lauryn still keeps me on my toes.
Yeah.
I still sometimes turn around and don't know like what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think that's a lot of relationships, they get so consistent and they get so stale and you know what to expect from the partner all the time. It's like you lose the spice of the relationship. I like that my wife might fucking lose it on some kind of random thing on me all the time. I like that she can, keep it, playful with me. I like that it's not so always so consistent, right? Like I think that like I would lose
I would
interest.
consider her one of the most inconsistent, like surprising people I know.
Yeah, and me too in some ways, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes like, catch me in the wrong mood or catch me in the wrong setting. Like I might be completely different.
Or you catch her in the closet and,
who knows?
things happen.
But again, no, like that's a whole different thing. Okay, so
Yeah.
what do you think some of the consistent mistakes that your friends make? Because maybe I could.
Sleeping with people too soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
My friends will go out with a guy and sleep with them that night and be like, well, I just like really wanted to. And like it's normal now. Like everyone sleeps with someone the first night.
So not passing judgment, very sex positive, obviously.
For sure.
Do what you want to do.
And
But
I think it does work out for some people, but they're seeking a serious relationship. And I don't think that's the best start.
It's the variables to that are going to depend on what the outcome of that is. Like if it's purely from a physical standpoint and then you get that, then they may lose interest. But if there are the variable of like attraction and they're getting along, and then it would probably not fizzle out right away. But that's
I think they use
mostly
sex as a way to
unsuccessful.
like become closer to guys.
big mistake.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna make a disclaimer here because I don't want to hear about it later. Like I know there's all these different terms and non-binary and gay and straight and trans and this and all these different things. But I'm gonna talk about heterosexual relationships, me, because that's what I am. And so I'm gonna give advice from that perspective. There's other places that you can listen to for other advice for how people identify however the hell they want. But for me, as a man, when I was pursuing women, that was the most exciting part, was the pursuit, was the chase, was the idea that it's like, I don't want to say it's a conquest to conquer someone, but it's like this thing where it's like you meet somebody and the idea is to unlock this part of them where they then want to be intimate with you, right? And they want to, let you in more in one way than the other. But I think if women make it so easy for a man that he can unlock that part of the relationship and get that intimacy that early on, well, you've just taken out almost all of the excitement of the pursuit and the chase. And men like to chase and they like to pursue. And any man that tells you he doesn't want to chase and he doesn't like the pursuit is fucking bullshit, right? Taylor, don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
And so
your instincts.
Yeah, well, it's just like that's the exciting part. And all of a sudden, if you meet somebody and it required no effort at all, and you've gone out and you get that in the first, day of meeting someone, that has become a very uninteresting pursuit, right? Whereas if you have the time to pursue someone, one, during that time, you're also building a relationship, learning more, unlocking different parts of that person's brain and their mind, and, finding if you find them interesting or not. And you're also like, it's like this little bit of a tease where it's like, oh, okay, like you're building the want, right?
Yeah.
So then when you get it, it's not like, oh, that was so easy, because here's the thing, whether women like to hear this or not, men are going to continue to chase and they're going to continue to pursue. I still feel like I chase Lauryn all the time, which is why it's interesting. But in my personal past, if I would meet someone and have a one night stand, I would lose interest almost instantaneously, actually to the point where I wanted them out of the place even before we went to bed. I'd be like, oh, I'm kind of like, this was, it almost feels like, it feels so easy that it feels dirty in a way.
Like you committed a crime.
I was just reading this article the other day about how sex sometimes has the same effect that like taking drugs does, where it's like you're just looking for the high, you're looking for the next high, and then you become like into a different state. They say that there's only two states of consciousness, which is like asleep and awake, but then this article was going into how drugs and sex are also like two separate consciousnesses.
And it's very sobering in a way. Right?
Yeah,
Once you've
and the
had
second
sex,
it's done, you go back to your normal self and
you analyze and you start to listen. I know people don't like to hear this, but it's the truth. And I'm a man.
It's the same for women. They say after a woman sleeps with a man, she's like disgusted by him.
Yeah, well, and especially if it's that quick and that kind of like, rushed, you're kind of looking, you're like, wait a minute, like who is this person, right? And I don't care who you are, like it's, you could.
If you don't know the person, it's strange regardless.
It's strange. It's all, you're sitting there sober. When I mean sober, you're not pursuing sex anymore, like not alcohol, whatever.
Yeah.
and you're both looking at each other like, what the hell did we both just do that quick? And listen, there's a time and a place. I'm not saying there's something wrong with one night stands, but I think if you are pursuing somebody in hopes that they are going to want to continue a relationship with you, you've given up too much. And I also think sometimes women go, okay, well, I'm not going to give up sex, so I'm just going to give this guy a blowjob.
I think that's sex too.
Yeah, it's still the release of basically busting your nut is what leads you to that.
I actually think, I'm telling, again, this is for the benefit of you, your friends. Listen, I have two young sisters, so I would say this all the time. That's almost worse. It's almost like you're better doing the sex than the oral, because the oral, it's like, okay, I just met this person. They just did this in 1 second. Who else are they doing this to in 1 second? I'm not that special. They're not that special. There's nothing special here about this. There's nothing, it's
not memorable.
It's not memorable. It was, listen, I've had some of those, but let's not get on that tangent.
If she stopped before I busted, though, I might go like, ooh, like, where you going?
In your case,
we know you have like an edging fetish.
Yeah. In your case, she would have to stop in about 10 seconds.
Might get all over the carpet.
Yeah, that actually happened to him.
I remember.
Yeah, he actually did bust all over somebody's carpet.
And that girl listened to that episode too, by the way.
Oh God.
And
if you're listening now, we're still sorry.
Okay, so you think your friends give up sex too quick, too easily, too fast?
Yes.
And you think because of that, they're not finding success in relationships? Because what happens? The guy ends up ghosting or going somewhere else?
Or the girl loses interest also. It could be either way.
Yeah, there's no buildup. There's no chase. There's no like, hey, like we just both pursued this thing. It's just that everyone's rushing.
Yeah. So that's probably number one.
And people do this weird thing where they're like, okay, now if we've had sex, that means now we're closer. We're more intimate. That means this person's going to like me more because we've had sex. I've sometimes found that that's the exact opposite.
Yeah. I'm also finding a lot these days. I think that men that I'm dating are hypersensitive to feeling like they have to pay me more attention, or like that they have to go out of their way, maybe because they're used to women like talking about how guys like are shitty, and they're being way too nice to me and way too intense, like love bombing me. And that's also an issue that's happening.
Explain.
Like, I'll go out with a guy. I went out with a guy like 3 times or whatever. And on our 4th date, he was like, oh, what'd you do last night? And I was like, I went to a party. And he was like, oh, were guys hitting on you? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I gave him my number. And he's like, why don't you just say you have a serious boyfriend? And he was referencing himself. And I was like, slow down, bizarre. So I think that there's that. They want to put all like, they'll ask me like, what are you looking for? Like, oh, I'm looking for a relationship. And it's just too much too soon on both sides.
Doesn't it, Taylor, when you listen to this, doesn't it feel like everyone's just kind of like, everyone's trying to cram in everything at once?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Going like, hey, what do you want? Removes all of the fun of what a relationship really is. It's the mystery, the chase, the pull, the being like, so what do you want?
Let me tell you why that what do you want question is a terrible question in dating. It's a terrible question. Especially,
I would never ask
I told my sisters all the time, never ask a man that question, ever. For women out there listening, maybe it's offensive to say, but
men too, don't ask it.
But I do think specifically, again, as a heterosexual man, most men, when they're going out, and especially young men, and they're running around, do you know what they want? They want sex and women in abundance. There's very few young men that are like, I want to find a woman and settle down and be serious. That happens when you find somebody that you start to fall in love with and that you feel like you can build a life with and that you have a genuine connection with because you've spent time building a great relationship. But if you're early on and you've slept with a guy early and you're dating and it's been 2 or 3 dates, this just happened to
I had not slept with him.
Okay.
Let the record show.
But this just happened to one of my closest friend. Everyone's going to know who we're talking about. One of your closest friends, one of my closest friends. Tall guy, tattoos. Anyways, and a woman came to him and said, after a few dates, like, what are we? What do you want? He's being honest and candid, and he wasn't a little bitch about it. He said, I'm not looking for anything serious. This is not a serious relationship. I just want to have fun. In quote, like basically that means just wants to play around, have sex, whatever. And like, it's a devastating answer to hear because that's not the answer that she wanted to hear, right? She wanted to hear like, hey, I'm looking for something serious. So the problem is like when you put a guy in that position, or girl, I'll say guy or girl, and you make them answer something that quick when a relationship's just developing, and then they answer in an honest way.
It's the same thing you said. It puts you open to rejection.
Yes, it puts you in a position where like, okay, if I'm somebody with integrity and you really want the real answer, and you've put me on the spot. I just want sex casually when I want it, how I want it. You know, when I say how, I mean like how often. Yeah, how often, like
where.
Yeah, where. And that's it. And I'm not looking for serious stuff. And I'm going to continue to date other people and have fun. Like that's a devastating answer to get back if you're actually wanting to pursue a relationship with someone. So the way you don't get that answer is you don't ask it, and you continue to develop a relationship and a bond where people actually want to date and be with you over time.
Yeah, and also too, I think asking that leaves you pretty much stonewalls you, because a guy may go into a relationship and just want, I just want to date around, but then after getting to know the girl, he may go, wow, I actually really like this. I only want to be with this person and I want a serious relationship. So the intention may evolve. By asking that preemptively, you could very much end a road before it would have even began.
Yeah, I used to get asked that question all the time. And again,
really,
the answer was devastating because I would, above all things, I consider myself to be pretty blunt and candid and honest with, you know, the way I speak in my responses. So I would get asked that question and the response was exactly like, hey, nothing, not serious, really don't feel that way about you, having fun, sorry, but like if this doesn't work for you, I get it, like we can part ways.
I wonder what happened if a guy went around a bar and his opener every single time was, hi, how are you? I'm looking for a very serious relationship and settling down and wanting to get married.
I don't think it would work out at all.
Exactly, because people
that
would go,
give me the ick.
Exactly, and that's exactly the.
But
the
this
thing
isn't.
about
This
it.
is again. It's not men or women. People don't like that feel of desperation. Like I have to lock you down. You have
even
to
in
be,
friends.
Yeah, no, nobody wants that. If I went up to you and I was like, I want to be your best friend and I want to be with you all the time, and I don't really want you to pursue other friendships, but and I'm really dead serious about this friendship, and I'm going to put everything. Like you'd be like, okay, I don't think so, buddy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
okay.
Again, people cramming in, they want to get the answer right away. They want to give it up right away. They don't want to take the time.
No one's taking the time to seduce anyone.
Yes, that's a good word. Nobody's taking the time to pursue and seduce. And there's something beautiful about that. I mean,
it's fun. It's romantic. It's exciting.
I pursued Lauryn for a very long time. And I don't want to use that relationship as, I don't want to use our relationship as the pinnacle of what all relationship success looks like. But obviously we connected when we were kids. That's not so unique. It's a little bit out there. But then when we got back together, I mean, from 20, we got together when we were 21 and we got married when we were like 27, 28, right? So there was a long pursuit and a long time to develop a relationship between then. We dated, you know, we lived separately for a long time. It was like this whole thing of building a relationship. I mean, that's a big decision when you're going to marry someone and spend the rest of your life with them and have kids.
It was like a storybook romance if you think about it in a weird way. Because everybody, I'll say this, even myself, when a relationship ends and you're the person that doesn't want it to end, you always think to yourself, maybe we'll get back together later on in life, and that's when it's gonna be it, and we'll seal the deal then.
But the reason
always
it
that
worked
way.
out,
you have someone that you think about that like?
No. In previously, I just feel like when I was younger. Now I doubt that.
But the reason it worked out is what I'm saying is that we developed, honestly, a true friendship and mutual respect for each other for a very long time, and there was a pursuit and a chase, and it was interesting. And listen, I'm not expecting everybody to date for fucking 20 years like Lauryn or whatever we did, but I do think that people are setting themselves up for success, trying to cram everything in the beginning, giving up intimacy very early, not making it a challenge for man or woman or either side, asking questions that are serious questions way too early and putting someone on the spot, especially before they're ready to make that decision.
Feeling uncomfortable is never sexy. Like, with that type of question, I never want to make anyone feel uncomfortable when I'm dating.
So what do your friends do when they ask that question or they give up sex too early, and then like what's their next move? Because that's, I think, the problem is a lot of people do that. They make, I don't want to say the mistake, but they take that step, and then I think that's where people get flustered.
You know, my friends actually aren't really getting asked that. It's mostly me. So maybe that's saying something about the vibe that I'm giving out.
Meaning what? People are asking you, what are we?
Yeah, and they're asking me like, what are you looking for? Where do you see this going? And I'm saying, honestly, I'm like, I'm looking for something casually serious. That's always my answer.
That's a little bit confusing.
I know. And then I change the subject. But it makes me feel awkward.
You don't want to have to give somebody a firm answer.
Yeah, I don't want to reveal what I'm looking for, you know?
But do you want them to tell you what they're looking for?
Honestly, no. But like if the question comes up, yeah, they can tell me.
Like,
I don't want to know though. I wish the question wasn't asked. I wish it didn't happen.
So you just wanted to keep like kind of
until we get to the point where it's like, you know, it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I was to say it's an appropriate question at some point. It's more so finding that time period of when is the correct way.
So from your perspective in the dating world now, what do you like if you were to say like the top 4 issues that people run into or top 3 issues, what are the issues?
I think it's overabundance, like you were saying, like there's too many options and like everyone has a small attention span. That's probably a big issue is like the small attention span. But
do you find it creepy? Let me ask, because I've heard this too. Would you find it, and I've heard old bats say, I'm going to say old bats, like people my age and above say this, that people find it creepy. Like, would you find it strange if a guy did not contact you through social media first and just cold came up to you in person?
No, I think that's great.
Okay, that's good for a lot of people. But some people, I've heard some people say like, hey, it's weird to not like develop the connection online first.
I would prefer to not develop the connection online.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, there's still hope for humanity yet.
I think that the ideal way to meet someone is a friend of a friend, like a setup. In Korea, that's how everyone meets. It's like, oh, like let me set you up on a blind date. And I think that is great, in my opinion.
Most of the time, whenever someone says they have a friend, they're always usually ugly.
I met someone through a friend recently who was really cute.
Oh, I've got this friend. She's so beautiful. I'm like,
maybe they're just setting you up with that.
They're setting me up for failure.
Yeah, maybe.
Aren't you in a relationship, man?
Yeah, I am in a relationship. I'm just talking about in the past. I've definitely gone through the ringers of like,
I want to make that clear
friends.
Because I know you've been on this show before when you've been in a relationship and you got yourself in hot water.
Yeah,
so
no,
like,
I'm in a relationship. So these are all high past tense situations.
Gee, I got to cover your fucking ass for you, man.
Yeah,
you have a good friend.
Yeah, you're just out there acting like you kind of leave it obscure, like you're out there ready to go.
You're talking about coming on some girl's carpet. Now
this is just past stories. I'm very transparent about my past.
Yeah,
so that's one of them. Number 2, rushing things. Number 3,
sex too early.
Yeah, but that goes under rushing things. I think that those are just the 2 main issues. It's like
overabundance.
I feel
like rushing things could be rushing things emotionally and rushing things physically. Because those could be 2 different things. You could still rush things and have it not be like a, hey, let me stick my dick in you or let me ride your cock.
Lack of seduction.
God, I mean, listen, I'm all about...
You're talking about penetrating.
Vulgarity, but Jesus, man. Sometimes you say things that makes my stomach...
The best...
It's vile.
Just on a tangent, literally, I think this always makes me smile internally. The best way to describe sex is bumping uglies. I don't know why. It always just makes me chuckle on the inside.
I'm sure women love to be...
Well, it's both. It's because it's bumping uglies. It's both sides, not just women.
You're chuckling on the inside.
I find
you're
funny.
Just turning everybody on, huh?
Not enough seduction. That's the number one issue.
So what's your solution? What's your next move?
My next move is, I don't know. I'm trying to meet someone in real life, and I'm trying to play a little bit of a game. Yeah, it's fun.
I think you got to go outside the big cities. I think they're too transient. And I say that like not being like somebody's like, oh my God, like LA. Like, I think the problem is there's...
I tried dating in Austin. It wasn't for me.
Well, I'm not even saying Austin. I consider that a big city too. I think it's hard to...
I like some of the people who aren't from LA that live in LA. Is that a transient? Are you saying that's not the goal?
I just think that like the problem is you're on the dating apps? Which ones are you on?
No, I'm not on dating apps.
Oh,
I'm on Raya, but I don't use it.
Oh, fancy, huh?
I've never met anyone from Raya.
That's a fancy one, right?
I guess, yeah.
That's the one bunch of my friends, like they always try to get on there thinking that's going to like...
I haven't opened up Raya in like 3 months, but yeah.
What are the good dating apps now?
I've heard good things about Hinge.
Bumble?
Oh, Bumblebee.
I think they were sponsored. Probably no, they were a sponsor at some point. They're not anymore though, so who cares?
Okay, Bumble.
Tinder.
Tinder's for like fucking.
That's what it's known for?
Yeah.
So if you're on Tinder, you're just fucking.
Yeah, I think that you can. I think that it can be a relationship also, but like there's no bio. It is just images on Tinder. It's like you're just liking someone for their looks on Tinder.
What about Match?
I've never used Match. I think that's for...
Match dating app, sponsor code skinny.
There's a lot of new ones coming up though.
But there's ones that are more serious.
Hinge, I think, is more serious. I've used Hinge. Yeah. And I met someone I liked from Hinge once. And the guys who have asked me, like, what are we, are usually from Hinge as well.
So what happens? People go single now and, like, their move is, like, when they become single, most people just hit Tinder. They're like, I'm fucking now.
Yeah, probably. And they also hit Hinge and, like, pretend to be wanting something serious. Because I've asked my guy friends, I'm like, what are you doing on there? Like,
oh, this maybe people might get mad at me saying this. I feel like people that are kind of serious people don't go on the apps. So I think that's also why people are struggling on these apps is they get a bunch of the people that are like, I'm just here to fuck around.
I disagree.
Okay, so maybe that's wrong.
Yeah, I disagree. Because
I would never
sometimes
go-
it's hard to meet people though in real life.
You know why I think it's hard to meet people in real life is we've lost this like I could never, if I was single, which I'm, gosh, Lauren's gonna yelling at me now. I would never go on one of these apps ever. You couldn't pay me any money. I like the old fashioned way of going up to somebody in person or getting a connection through a friend or actually pursuing somebody. Tracking.
Where would you go? I want like concrete
would I
advice.
go?
Give me tangibles. Because I go to places and
I wouldn't go to
meeting
transient
people.
places where people get sloppy. I would not. So
Okay.
I think that like people's like the way they think about meeting people is like, okay, I'm going to go out to the bar. I'm going to go out where everyone's getting fucked up and I'm going to go meet somebody. It's like, okay, people are out there getting fucked up and sloppy. So like that, if you're going into that setting, like that's what you got to expect you're going to find, right? Like people
That's a comfortable place to talk to someone though.
Yes, but that's what
Okay.
I'm saying is people are seeking comfort all the time. People are like, I got to be comfortable. I got to be loosed up. I got to have a couple drinks. I maybe got to have my friends around. I got a little confidence because if not, I'm not going to be in the setting to be able to do these kind of acts to pursue someone. So I think it's a self-exploration on like, okay, you go to those settings. Those are the type of pools you're fishing in, right? I always think about like, where are you fishing? That goes in business, that goes in dating, that goes basically anything in life. It's like, you got to know the pool you're fishing in. So if you go to the sloppy bar where everyone's going and getting fucked up, like those are the fish you're catching.
Yeah.
Fucked up sloppy fish. Right? So I would go to places, I'm trying to think of like the types of settings. I think going to hotels, that have a lot of foot traffic that interesting people are coming and staying in are interesting. Go have a drink there at a lounge. I think going to places like if I was in Austin, I think that it's interesting. Like, you know, there's like if you go to like Khalil's place, Sun Life Organics, like you're seeing people kind of in their natural element, probably people that kind of have a focus on health, taking care of themselves, maybe there. I think restaurant bars are underrated, like just good restaurants, not a bar, but like a place where people go.
Like an Italian spot.
Yeah, and like propping up at the bar there. I think certain type of stores, like, I mean, this is dating myself, but like back in the day, like you go to places like Barnes and Noble and stuff, you can see someone with a brain, right? I don't know.
I think people with a brain are going to like cafes and working at a cafe now.
Yeah, stuff like that. Also, I think like in professional settings, you can meet a lot of interesting people. Also, I would create a good inbound cycle.
God.
Right? Like I would systemize it where I'd be like, okay, like how am I going to create something that stands out where people actually seek me out and find me interesting? Like I wouldn't put myself at the mercy of what everyone else puts themselves at the mercy of. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like
yeah.
I wouldn't go and fish where everybody else is fishing and try what everyone else is trying. Because I think like
that's what's not working.
That's what is either not working or what is working for the majority of people. And whenever I see stuff like that, I'm like, okay.
You run the other way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else in life. It's like whenever, you know, like people come to you and they say, oh, you got to buy this stock, or like right now is a great time to buy a house. Like whenever everybody else is doing something and finding success or fit, like I always think like, what is the place that I could go where people aren't going? And then I start to think like, where are the serious people going?
Okay.
Is that good advice?
Yeah.
I agree completely with that. I think
Where'd
staying
you
away
meet
from
your
the bars and
girlfriend?
the clubs. You're talking about Lauryn or my girlfriend?
Yeah.
I met my girlfriend in Germany.
Oh yeah.
So in a bar.
He went way out.
Yeah,
Traveling.
it's a little different.
It's not to say people can't meet people in these settings. I'm not like diminishing. Like there's a time and a place to go out to clubs or bars or this and that, but you just got to understand that you're fishing in a very unfiltered pond.
I just think going to clubs to meet people is you can have no conversation. Usually the music is so fucking loud, you're screaming. You're like, what? Yeah, okay. And then at that point, it's basically like the Tinder where it's just conductive to looks and body and you're dancing and then that's it. And they're like, oh, I met this guy. But did you really meet them? All you did was fucking dance and then get shit-faced.
Yeah. I don't go to clubs. I haven't been to a club since my 21st birthday with you guys.
Oh, I got fucking blacked
I'm
out.
going to plan.
Same.
You know what, Taylor? You know what I'm going to plan? Because I was talking to Mimi and you've never been to Vegas, right?
No, I've never been to
Oh
Vegas.
my God. Are you serious?
Yeah, let's go.
I mean, there was a period of time, like I think the best way to go to Vegas is you go in on like a 7 or 8 o'clock flight. You land, you have dinner, you go out, you go on an absolute fucking animal bender, right? And you just do it nuts. Probably leave. Depending on the group you're with, maybe you go to a strip club.
Okay.
Probably we would go to the strip club. It'd be fun. Lauren would go.
Blue Rhino?
No.
Spearmint Rhino.
Yeah.
Sorry. My
Or
bad.
maybe I don't know if that's the one right now. But you go somewhere. It's fun because you go out. You all go as a group, and like there's guys and girls. You all go together, and then like
yeah,
those
I'm
things.
dying to go to a strip club.
Well, they
actually.
shut down. Like the club shut down. What, 2? Wait, Taylor, is it 2 in Vegas or 3 or 4? I don't remember.
No, the clubs don't ever shut down. In
Yes, they
Vegas.
do.
They do. They really?
Yeah, they get slow or whatever. And then you go out to like an after hours club.
Yeah, that's because for me, I always like the more loungy ones that are open. All like the clubs and stuff. I do those very, very rarely. I've only done it a couple
And then
times.
you go
Like the day clubs.
Then you kind of pass out and you wake up and you have some fucking absurd brunch. Like we used to do this lavo brunch. I used to like that. And you go there and you're like, they start serving pancakes, but everyone's fucking hungover. And the next thing you know, like you're on top of the table and it's pitch black and you're blacked out.
Love
like
it.
That. And then potentially you just kind of like crash that second one and then you wake up and chill at the pool and then you get the fuck out. So it's like max 2 days, maybe even only 1.5 days. That's the way to do it. I'm gonna take you
plan
to
it. Let's go.
I'm gonna take you to do it. I haven't done it in a long time.
You haven't been drinking, so you'll have to stop that first.
I had these 2 kids that really fucking cramp my style. Okay, but anyways.
Okay.
But again, like but here, there's like, again, you can meet people and have a fun. I'm not saying don't have fun one night, crazy party, out of control, sex and all this. Like,
Of course.
But I think we're talking about like if you're dating and trying to
I've
find
been
a
burning the
relationship.
midnight oil these days.
Yeah, that's good. I do all that. But yeah, that's my advice is like, I would maybe stop fishing in all the same pools. I would go to different places. I would try to create a scenario where there's human interactions. There's always like this uncomfortable thing where, people, men, women, they find it intimidating to go up and talk to someone. I'll tell you this about Taylor. One thing, and my friend Alex, I'll call him too. My friends that do the best with women are the ones that go up to women in real life and strike up a conversation and be a human being. And honestly, it's been it's been a long time for me, but that's how I would pursue women. I would go in person, talk, like show them that I'm a real person. And like, listen, you get some rejections, but Taylor, don't you agree?
Absolutely. But that's the thing.
Taylor
People
walks
do
up to
get
anybody.
scared.
Yeah.
People get scared that they're going to get rejected, but that's part of the same thing. It's part of the fun because you never know. If you don't do that, then you'll be infinitely rejected because you're never even going to try.
Yeah.
I think confidence is a little bit difficult in that. And I think my cousin put this a long time ago, and I was like, oh, that's true. It's like the worst thing that could happen is they just say no or they're not interested. And I've always looked at it in that sense. Is like whenever going up to someone, it's like the worst thing that they could say is no, or hey, if you go up and you're polite and you're nice, they're not going to be mean to you. They're just going to say, oh, like not interested. Perfect. What'd you lose? You lost nothing, but you have a chance to potentially gain a lot if that's what you're looking for.
Hey, and guess what? That applies to business. That applies to raising money. That applies to applying for a job. That applies to literally everything. The worst thing that happens is someone says no, you get a little bit of a bruised ego and you're in the exact same place as you were before. You don't like take a life hit and go back. It's not like Mario where you go back 3 squares, Yeah. You like take a little hit to the ego and you're like, okay, back on the horse. All my friends that like do that, I won't say it by name, like they just go out and they play the numbers game and they get out there. Like
I also think the same goes for women. Like women are like, oh no, I have to be approached. And I think that if I am seeing a guy who's cute or like I see him out at wherever, I'll start a conversation with him, but then like he needs to like lead the rest of it. But if I'm interested,
a conversation.
Yeah.
But some girls they won't even do that where they're so just passive towards it. I think that would be something that would be interesting to see how, because I don't think it's really evolved, but it's always usually, the guy needs to be the one to go up there.
Maybe I learned that from you, Taylor.
If I could give any of the women out there advice, it's like, you don't have to make it so hard on the guy to get an opening. If there is some semblance of interest and you're like, I kind of want this guy to hit on me or come up to me, again, not being sexist, like there's a way to like signal that you're open to that as opposed to this like cold shoulder. I'm not going to do anything until someone approaches me. Like
put yourself in their space too.
Yeah. People can sense if you're open to being pursued or hit on or whatever. I actually think that this applies in relationships too, right? Like Lauryn and I, honestly, this is true. We don't get hit on, either of us, ever. Like it's rare that I get hit on or some kind of weird DM. Actually,
some woman just asked to see your ball sack, right?
She said,
"Did you send it?"
She said, "Show the genitals." It was and it was funny. It was like
such an opener.
It was like
that's good.
It was like a mom of 2 or 3.
It was show the genitals. It's just like
so I sent her my genitals.
Skin.
Yeah, I sent her my genitals back. No, I'm just kidding. That's like maybe happens like once a year. Like it's not frequent. And
interesting.
And with Lauryn, maybe like a little bit more, but very little. And the reason I think that is true is because there's an energy you can give off single or in a relationship that shows like, hey, I'm open to this type of thing. Like if you don't give off that energy, nobody's coming around unless they're an absolute fucking creep, right? Like there's the creeps out there. It's like, get out of here, creep. But you know, I never feel bad for my friends when they're like, oh, like, I don't know, like these girls were all like, it's like, dude, you're putting that energy out there. Same with girls. Like if you close off and you're like, I'm not open for business, people know. Yeah.
With body language and like speech.
Yeah. That's why any of my joker friends that end up fucking around on their wives or their girlfriends and you get caught, it's like, he's like, I don't know how, I don't know. It's like, well, you put that out there. You let them know you're open for business. You don't put that out there, then they're not going to come around.
For sure.
Right? Because it's like, it's that confidence thing. Like if people know they're going to get for sure shut down or that that's not the energy, they're not going to risk it. But if you say, if you put that signal out there, like, hey, I kind of like this and I'm open, then yeah, you're going to, but same thing. If you're dating and you want that attention, like there's a way to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do. Also like leaning into intuition. Like you can tell when someone's like looking at you a little bit.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not idiots. We're animals.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, we're animals, right?
Yeah. People need to have more confidence.
Well, anyways.
Okay.
I don't know if we've covered enough if we've covered all the bases here, if we even covered anything.
I know.
I want to go through the list really quickly.
Okay.
Let's blow through it because
Do you want me to text it to you?
No, let's just go down the list really quickly and let's see which ones spark some quick.
Do you guys want to see the image first?
Oh, yeah. Show the image. I want to see what he looks like.
You guys, okay. He was wearing a hat and he had a beard. Okay. You guys, it's like literally so bad.
Do you see him, Taylor?
It literally says "say hi."
It's literally it's so
let me see.
bad.
Let me see. No.
Look, he lists what he's wearing, the processing lab for the image.
Wait, hold on.
It's like
this has just reached another level. This guy.
This is like a full-blown website. This isn't like a list. This is just like a list. It's literally like you go on and it says like, hey there.
Wait, can you see it, Taylor?
It says self-portrait in bold, jacket and pants by 424, shirt by Comme des Garçons, shoes Yeezy Supermoon, assistant photographer, won't put the hair and makeup, won't put that. Processing lab, won't put that. And he's doing a pretend walk shot.
On the tennis court.
Whew.
Yeah.
There's some production value in this.
This guy's got to be joking. He's got to be a joke.
I don't think so.
You know what I think we should do? We should do a follow-up on this and we should call him and have him actually call in to the podcast, or somehow we need to incorporate this because
if I called him right now, he'd answer.
That's what I mean. We should.
I don't want to meet this
Yes.
guy. I feel like we'd have to like he'd try to like hurt us or something.
We don't need to meet him in person.
I feel like I'd have to choke this guy out or something.
It might be a joke because he did message me again and he was like what was the best way a guy came up to you? So he was asking for like advice. So maybe this is his move.
Maybe he's just like, maybe he's just a lost soul that's like trying to get data on what's working, what's not. Maybe he's
doing research. He's like, I'm doing market research.
Maybe he's data driven.
I don't
Literally.
know. But the photo's pretty bad.
Biography? Hold on. Is a film director, photographer based in Los Angeles. He got interested in photography while visiting Cuba at the age of 8. Back in California, X started making short films, which screened at over 50 film festivals worldwide. He picked up a few awards and then directed his first feature film starring, that I'm not going to give this guy a laugh, which is currently in post-production. X is a billiards and music enthusiast. In his spare time, he produces music, cooks, and dances salsa. This has got to be a joke.
No, he told me about the salsa thing when I met him. And also all about the...
What's the contact page say? No, this is a joke.
No, it's real.
I don't know about this guy.
This is either a joke
real.
or it's one of these really, really just extensive people from LA that are their head so far up their ass that they think that this is acceptable to do.
He's from the Bay Area.
Where's the red flags list?
You have to get back to it. It's like hidden. It's like you can't access it on the page.
Oh, he's got it in it.
Yeah.
It's a direct link. All right, Mimi. Well, I wish that I had some better answers for you here. I don't know what you're going to do, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm feeling okay. I'm not very confused right now, actually.
I just do some market research for us. Go on a date with him and then let us know how it goes.
No.
You should go on a date and do everything that he says that he hates. Literally, oh my God, please.
You know what? I don't know if we've learned anything today.
Same.
I don't know if anybody got any kind of value out of this.
The only thing I really got was like Taylor, the bumping uglies.
Bumping uglies. Start using that slang.
And
Hey, you
else?
want to bump uglies? It's just funny. It makes
Sometimes I need a podcast.
I learned the circuit about that guy, your friend. I'm thinking about having my own circuit. That's a good move, honestly.
Listen, that's the other thing. It's like, if I was in the dating world, I'd probably systemize it, right?
For sure. You got to be strategic.
Yeah, you don't want to waste. That's the thing too. It's like you got to find your regular places,
Mhm.
your regular drinks, your regular wait staff that you can get along with, that know you, know what you like.
Absolutely. Close to your place.
Yeah, I think spontaneity is overrated. I really do. I tell Lauryn that all the time. Whenever that's might be one of my red flags when someone comes, I'm so spontaneous. I'm like, I'm out. Let's plan it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's one of your 30
We know
for your
you
red
love a
flag
plan.
list.
You know what? I have a follow-up podcast that I think we should do. We should make a list of red flags.
Okay.
My red flags.
Yours?
Yours, Lauren's, mine.
Okay. Taylor's?
Now that I'm thinking about this guy's website, I actually don't think it's that bad of an idea. I might create this and be like, even in business and in life, and this is my red flag. Like, let's not waste time here.
Okay.
I had to go to this dinner last night, and I was, I dread whenever I have to go to a dinner.
Yeah.
Like, this is the
Can't wait to have dinner tonight.
This
with
is
you.
the equivalent of dating when you're in a relationship, and I was like, oh my God, we got to go to this double date. And like, honestly, the people are really awesome.
Yeah.
Like, on paper, these people, you would be like, why would you not want to go? But it's just,
You have a kid and a wife. Like, it's a lot.
well, it's not that. I'm also just like a recluse these days. I I really identify with that movie, The Aviator, when Howard Hughes is like locked in that thing, pissing in jars. I'm like that might be kind of cool for me to just be alone like that. And so I was just like dreading it. It's not going anywhere. But I was just,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? But I think like
Then you end up having fun.
if I could have, no, I did have fun. It
Yeah.
was fine. Once I get there, I can have fun. I can loosen up. I'm like, no. And then I'm
Mhm.
there. I'm like the WB frog. I'm like, let's fucking go.
I'm the same way.
Right? Like I turn it on when I need to. But
Yeah.
I once pissed in a jar when I was so hungover and someone actually drank it thinking it was water.
Ooh.
It's a long story.
Oh my God.
someone's gonna.
If I drank your pee, I'd be fucking done. You would never hear from me again.
I'd kill myself.
Yeah.
I'd kill myself.
Literally, that would be my 13th reason.
I'd kill him first, and then I'd kill myself. Like if they ever like, what happened to Michael and Taylor? I'd be like, well, Michael accidentally drank his piss, and then he had to kill him and kill himself, and everything's dead. He leaves behind 2 young children and a destitute wife. All right, guys.
All right.
I guess thanks for tuning in. Yes.
I hope
I'm
you
so-
got something from this.
I'm sorry if you were looking for some kind of inspiration or education. Hopefully you got a little entertainment. Maybe
That's
you got
all we
some
can really
advice.
hope for.
Yeah.
We'd love to know your deal breakers and red flags.
I
If
feel
you
like
agree
there's
with this guy-
so much information on dating. That's why I think that we definitely.
Someone's going to listen to this and write us in 10 years later and be like, that time you guys talked about pissing in the
Jars.
jars. Really, like I found my husband. I found my wife.
So we do. We
That's
going to
be the takeaway, is that someone drank Taylor's pee for sure.
Yeah, let's not go there.
All right.
Okay.
Till next time.
Thanks for having
Bye.
me.